Hello friends and welcome to Profoundish. I'm your host Weston, but that doesn't matter because today's episode is all about my co-host Alex. Join us as we talk about Alex's start into music and making his EP, Common Ground. Then join us for our game segment where I task Alex with staffing a nightclub with famous musicians. You're listening to Profoundish. And welcome to another episode of Profoundish. I'm Weston Hasty, and I'm joined today with my co-host
Alex Duquette.
And today, I was listening to an episode earlier. Alex, yeah. I was listening to one of our previous episodes, considering that I work on some of the shorts and stuff, and I try to make clips. And I was listening to some of the previous stuff, and I realized something. I've been selfish.
Okay.
Yes.
How so?
I have been selfish. Many episodes ago, you dedicated, basically, an entire episode to me and magic.
Yeah, that's true. It deserved to be noted and documented on the show.
Well, today I want to return the favor in this episode and dedicate this episode to you and how you got your start with making music. And who your I don't know, who your inspirations were, who you listened to, that kind of thing that brought you around to what you're doing now. So much so we've talked on the show a lot about your music channel, Alex Duquette, over on YouTube. We don't talk a lot about you released an entire EP that is available for people to listen to and purchase at alexduquette.net. His EP... I already forget the name because all I can remember. Hang on, hold on. Hold on. I've got it on a tab.
I can
somewhere.
tell you unless you want to look.
Nope, I have it.
Okay.
I have it. It's right here. Common Ground is the name of the EP. Yep. This is how prepared I am. I always forget the name of the EP, but it's called Common Ground. It's available on Spotify, Apple, Deezer, or YouTube. You can listen to it on his website, alexduquette.net. And I have been re-listening to... I've listened to it all before. I've been re-listening to it here in preparation of this episode. Not that I probably needed to, but I did. And I think I
appreciate that.
I still have a favorite. I think my favorite of all of them, and I think I hear it a lot on your Jammin' Chats, is Fine by Monday. Is still my favorite one.
Yes.
It's the opening one. It's my favorite one. So if nothing else, dear listener, if you want to check that out, at least go listen to Fine by Monday. It's probably my favorite song. But that's Alex's EP.
Hey, I just want to say there's a reason why it's the first track, right? I mean, it seems to be a crowd favorite from what I've learned, but
gets people hooked right away. I don't know if it's just relatable in some sort of humanistic way. I don't really know, but basically I wanted to dedicate this episode to you. Tell me how you got started.
I'm sorry, I'm just talking over you. I can't help it. I'm so excited. This episode's about me.
It's all about you.
It's about me.
For once on this episode, we're not talking about my name, Weston Hasty, being amazing and awesome. We're actually giving this to you.
Well, listen, it might be awesome, but Alex Duquette has a hook. There's a reason why I don't have a stage name. It's such a unique name. You know what I mean? Alex Duquette. So, since it's about me, I just wanted to say that about my name too. But yeah, well, first of all, I guess maybe a good entryway would just be the Common Ground EP, and then I can kind of go back to other things too, like my influences and everything like that. So, actually, you know what? The best place to start will be the YouTube channel, actually, because so much of what I've done has led me to do what I do on my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel, I do a bunch of medleys, which is basically taking a bunch of little songs and putting them together into one song, but in such a way I do it. That can be a very generic way of doing it, but in my particular way of doing it is I use my musical knowledge that I've acquired over the years to make it feel like it's all one song bleeding into the next instead of kind of a stop and go thing. So, but anyway, check that out. And then, my original music, that's a really special thing for me because I've been into music for years. I mean, obviously, that's no secret, but it wasn't as long as you think. I don't have the story of, when Alex was just 2 years old, he had a little baby piano put in front of him, and he wrote his first song. It actually wasn't like that at all for me. In fact, I wanted to play sports. I don't even know if you know this. When I was a kid, I wanted to play sports. Now, what this translated into was I want to be with my friends. That's really what it was. So I tried the basketball. I tried track and field. I did baseball up until technically up until 6th grade. So I didn't really touch any instruments. But sorry, I guess I'm going through the beginning. I just realized I said I was going to start with Common Ground, and I was like, I guess I'm going to the beginning.
No,
sorry.
Do what feels natural. This is, if that's where you want to pick up, that's beautiful. Let's do it.
Sounds good. I guess just a little context, right? So I come from a musical family, though, so I may not have done any musical stuff at the beginning, but my dad is a brilliant guitarist, and he's an incredible songwriter, and he's a great producer as well. And my mom is an amazing singer, and she's a flutist as well. So I come from a very musical background, so it's a surprise that it took me this long. But when I was 10, I think it was my 10th birthday, my mom and dad got together, put in the money to get me a drum set. That was actually my first instrument, was a drum set. So I think a lot of people online, when they see me, they don't think of me as a drummer. They probably think of me as a piano player or a guitar player. But drums were my love. They were my first instrument, and they're still actually my favorite instrument to play, believe it or not. I love it. So everything you hear that I do on the Common Ground EP or on my YouTube channel, all those drums are all me. I know you know that, but I'm telling that to the listener, I suppose. But and then my love just kind of expanded from there, right? So then I ended up picking up piano, and I picked up guitar. I picked up the ukulele, the bass, and I started singing a little bit later.
I was going to say, for someone who wanted to start out playing sports and wasn't interested in music, you picked up a lot of musical instruments once you did.
Well, that's because I sucked at every sport I played, right? So, and I'm dead serious. I can almost guarantee at one point, because you played baseball throughout most of your young career, right? Like through what? I mean, you did even in high school, right?
I did baseball all the way through, at least through freshman year of high school. I may have done a little bit in sophomore year. I did basketball all the way through freshman year. What other sports was I in? That's probably all the sports. I did golf much, much later.
For baseball, were you in the summer leagues too?
Yeah, summer leagues is where I really shined. School ball, I didn't start until high school, and I disagreed fervently with our coach and his tactics. Anyway, the summer ball was amazing. I was actually a really good third baseman.
We'll have to go back to that topic on another episode. I want to go back. But
no, school ball sucked. Anyway.
I bring up Summer League because you and I probably faced each other at one point, because I did Summer League for quite a few years. And in fact, on one year, I was actually on the same team as our mutual friend, Justin. And I remember wanting to be so good at it, but I never was good. I'm like, why can't I be good like my friends? And it's funny because the answers were in front of me the whole time, because, my dad's always playing me, Beatles music and teaching me about music, and my mom's singing in the house, and there's, it's incredible. But here I am trying to play baseball and fit in. I never hit the ball, Weston. The ball hit me, and in fact, it's something. In fact, I ended up being, because you can get away with this in the summer league, I was the runner for other batters because obviously that was because I was fast. But the reason that I ran so fast was because I got hit by the ball so much that I started to develop a fear of getting hit by the ball no matter where it was in the air. So I would run for everybody. And they think, God, this kid's fast. I was like, yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to get hit by a baseball right in the back. So needless to say, wasn't good at sports. I got the drum set, and it was pretty natural to me. I didn't take any lessons for the drum set. I just listened to some of my favorite records that I would listen to at that age, which a lot of those at that time were classic rock records. And I would just listen and figure out, okay, so this is the bass drum, this is the snare drum. Well, I didn't know the names, actually. So this is this drum, this is that drum. What's this cymbal do? And then I kind of slowly over time figured it out. I remember my mom having a fear that it was just going to be nonsense noise, just
a ruckus.
She said, luckily, she said it was a really interesting perspective. It'd be fun to have her kind of explain from her angle, but she said it was a pretty quick transition from nonsense to, oh, wait a second, he's figuring that out. And she got to hear me progress, which is, I guess, probably kind of cool to hear. But yeah, the piano and the guitar came, and then the rest is history. You know, I fell in love with it, and music is it's my baby. So I guess in terms of common ground itself, I didn't become a songwriter until significantly later. I always wanted to write songs, right? Like I always did, because I remember I played in a lot of cover bands. You're familiar with a couple of them. Shout out to Jawbone Stew, my favorite band I've ever been in.
That one was a good one. That one featured you and your dad. We're both in a band together, as well as two others.
Yes. Yep, that's right. It was my dad and I, and that was really fun because it's always been fun being in a musical family once I discovered that music was my thing, because there's nothing quite like... there's just this weird connection that you have with a family member, especially when you're singing, and there's just this natural, this flow that, and this blend of your voices that sounds so nice when you're related. I mean, it makes sense. But Dad and I have always kind of spoken the same musical language. So as soon as I was 10, 11, getting up on that drum set, him and I started jamming together, and that became like our favorite thing. Like my dad and I jamming was the equivalent of the father and son playing baseball in the backyard, right? Like that was our version of that. And I'm sure my dad wasn't a sports guy either, so I'm sure he was like, thank God he's musical.
Something I can relate to.
Right. Thank God. So... yeah, and then I remember I was playing in these bands, and there were cover bands and stuff, and then we even got into Jawbone Stew, and this would have been in my 20s, my early 20s, and I remember going up to my dad, you know, my co-member of the group, and I said, ooh, we should cover this song. And my dad always challenged me as a musician, and this is important background to give, that's why I'm sharing it, but he always challenged me, and I always appreciate him for that, because he's taught me so much of what I know musically, and he said, how about this? Instead of covering this song, why don't you write a song that sounds like it? And at the time, I was like, no, the song already exists. Let's just play it, right? But he knew I wanted to be a songwriter. So because of his influence in that way, I'm thinking, you know what? Yeah, maybe I can write a song that sounds like that. And then slowly but surely, later on, I started really writing. And it's funny now because this isn't spoken about very much, and I need to speak about it more because songwriting is kind of my favorite thing now in the musical process. Kind of just starting from nothing and creating something, and in my case, also producing it and doing all the instruments and everything. Telling a full, cohesive story is a lot of fun. I just realized I talked for like forever.
No, you were telling your story. I feel like we've had a conversation before that. A bajillion years ago. I feel like I remember having a conversation with you before about, I think we were talking about albums. I don't know what albums specifically, but about albums and how they should, basically what you were saying, how they should tell a story, right? Your process with like creating the EP, you know, how you wrote the lyrics, you wrote the music, you put the songs in their collection, like they tell a story. I don't remember what album we were talking about. I think there was one that you didn't like, I think, because it didn't tell a story, and you like albums that tell a story. And I feel like, not really being a music writer myself, I do resonate with that on the level that, like, when I listen to specific songs, because I've never really been an album listener with like other musicians and that kind of thing. Like I'll pick up songs that I like from specific people, but I've never been someone to actually go out and listen to a whole album from start to finish. And really, I'm still not that way, but after that conversation, I respected that perspective a lot more, because as someone who does like to write, like fiction and that kind of thing, where that suddenly made a lot more sense to me. I always used to think of albums as just a collection of songs. Here's a bunch of songs I did. Here you go. I never thought about it as being a story, ever. Changed my perspective on that.
Well, sure, and I appreciate you saying that. And it's true. It's funny because there are a couple of different ways to look at albums. I mean, in fact, at first, when albums, the LPs, the records first became a thing, they were just exactly that, a collection of songs. That's how they were marketed. This was a way to market an artist, right? And so that is how they initially started. But then as especially in the 60s and 70s, as artists or as music, as bands and pop artists became more kind of drawn to their own art and treating music more as an art form, they became more of kind of stories. There's some albums that they're called concept albums, which really are just full on. They're literally stories. But most albums now, or at least through most of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, I'd say, maybe they're not necessarily all telling the same story, but they have a cohesive theme. Or, because like there's a reason why the album cover is picked the way it is. There's a reason why the song listing is picked the way it is. And those are the things that I think that's what the point I was trying to make to you in that conversation was there was a lot of effort and timing put into this for a reason, and it's presented to you in such a way on purpose. There's a job for somebody in recording studios. I don't know the position's name, but it's literally helping track list an album. Like that's their job. They'll go around and help. Okay, this is the best way to tell this story of 11 songs, right? A couple fast ones, put a slow one in there. This one fades out, so this next song should probably jump right in immediately to kind of catch their attention again. And like, there's actually a science to it. And I really believe that albums up until this is a whole other thing, but modern era, that they were intended to be that, to be sat down and listened to. So when my new favorite artists, still to this day, come out with albums, I always dedicate my time. I used to be able to sit down on the couch and just put on the music. Now I'm busy, but usually what I do is I'm on my commute to work and I'll put on the record and I'll start at the beginning. Even if there's already that one hit song that everybody knows, I'm still going to start at track one because there's a reason, right? And and I don't know. I just think I think that nowadays it's funny. It's coming full circle. I feel with the streaming and all that stuff. This is by no means a new conversation that anyone's had, but with how that's going now, we're really going back to the way of the single again. That one or two really good songs, then the rest of the songs nobody really cares about. That's kind of coming full circle again.
Because that makes me think of 2 points. One, when we were talking about the storytelling and how an entire person's job can be just choosing what songs are played in what order. It comes down to like if you're just a consumer, you don't have to think about this. But once you are the person creating a thing, every tiny thing that you could possibly imagine is a decision that was made. So song order, song, like how many songs to have, what song, all of it. You even said the art, the cover art, all of that is done with reason, and a decision was made to do that. None of that is just by accident. Now, there might be somebody out there that just literally is a chaos person that just throws crap together and says, good luck, album. But
that's probably true. Yep.
I'm sure that exists, but for the most part, if you're looking at it from the point of view as art, every tiny piece of that is a decision made, and you're absolutely right. And I see what you're saying, where we're kind of losing that a little bit. I think it's with the internet age, right, where no one's releasing physical I mean, people are, but like no one's buying physical albums en masse like they used to. Everything's streamed and digital, and if I'm going to listen to someone's music, I'm going to do it from YouTube Music or Spotify, not necessarily through the album, just literally the songs. Or I'll go to that artist's page and just listen to whatever by that artist as opposed to specific albums. So it's a bit of a shift.
And it makes sense. I mean, honestly, like just from the actual like logistic perspective, it makes sense. Why would you want to waste your time on these other songs if there's only one or two that you're coming there to listen to? And it's so accessible. Like it makes sense. In fact, and I did want to make a kind of touch on that last point too. It's different for someone like me or other musicians who like peers, right? You're always more observant as a peer than you would be as just a straight consumer, right? And I think that plays a big part too, because not only are you aware of everything, but also that can be sometimes like competition for you in a way, like, ooh, I want to try and do that. It's totally different than, I'm trying to think, like any other, like, I don't know, any other space that I don't know anything about, like. I can't think. I mean, there's plenty of things I don't know a lot about, but anything else that I'm just a consumer in.
Yes.
Like food. Okay, like I don't really know much. I mean, I can cook, but I don't know. I'm not a chef, right? So if I go to a restaurant, I'm not thinking about how they're preparing this food. I want the food to be good when I eat it, right? I mean, that's as simple as that. Same with consumers of music. I want to like what I listen to.
Yeah.
However.
Yeah. Go on.
Oh, Oh, I was just going to say, I do have another point to make. Now, this is just an opinion, but I do believe, though, that one reason why we are going back to just the songs again is because, dun, 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 I think the other songs on these albums just aren't that good because I don't think they're taking as much time on those songs as artists would have before. They want to get the hits out and move on. You know what I mean? A good song is a good song. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, that might be it. I do wonder about, so as not doing music, but as a creator in just making videos of some kind. So like a lot of my stuff is video game stuff, but like just in the sense that I know what it looks like behind the scenes to work really hard on a thing that I'm proud of versus I need to get this thing out because I'm on a deadline. Like the difference between those two. So I can absolutely imagine where a musician possibly working for a label has to get X number of songs out by X deadline so that they can release EP, album, etc. Where, okay, well, these are the songs I care about. I've got 4 songs that I actually care about, and these are going to be bangers. But I also have to put out another 7. So it's like, I can see where corners can be cut, but I wonder how much of that is subjective because... And you might know more specific artists. You might know more interviews where people admit to like cheating and just cutting corners or whatever. Yeah. I'm just looking at it from the point of view. Sometimes, like just because stuff isn't as good doesn't mean it's not actually the thing that the artist was really passionate about. It just so happens to just not be very good to the consumer. Some like like something like very artsy,
you're right.
fartsy. Like this is kind of crap, but the artist was like, well, actually, this is so much more meaningful.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because that was actually the second point I was going to make about that. Because I really do feel like it's difficult to this point. It's difficult, and I'm saying this as a songwriter myself, because there's so many albums out there. It's difficult, I think, to write 10, 12, whatever the amount is of songs, like really, really, really good songs, right? Like, it's not easy. I think it's much more common to have 1 or 2 that really stick out, and then the other... dozen or however many there are just, they're okay, and there's no solution to that, really. It's just continue to write and hone your craft and make them better, because the albums that I've listened to, which I can list a bunch, but obviously that's not what I'm here for today, but that are great from start to finish, like those, there's nothing like it. Like, and once again, it's all right, it's all opinion, it's all subjective, I get it, but like my favorite albums are not the ones that have like that my number 1 favorite song on there. It's the albums that all together tell, whether it's not like a legit story or not, but they're all cohesive and they're all great songs. There's not a skip, as people say. Like there's no skips, right? Those albums are far and in between. But that's kind of my goal as a songwriter, is to release a full album that, at least in my heart of hearts, feel like that no song is a skip. I think some artists know, like, this one's not my best, right? I think it's important to put, if you can, right, obviously the best of your best on there. And that's kind of what, when Common Ground came out, Common Ground, I think, has 6 songs, I believe.
Yes.
And at that point, I'd have written total, out of my whole catalog, probably about 50 songs, okay? And those were the 6.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Okay, that's a lot.
So, but also, me personally, though, I'm also a perfectionist, and, I only wanted to put the best of the best out there. So, and at that time, those are the ones that I felt really, really were my best. And they kind of all fit together musically, which is another reason why I did it. But
you didn't try to skimp out on those 6 either. Your shortest song, because talking about modern music, a lot of like modern, like contemporary pop music can be as short as like 2 minutes long, right? Yeah. You didn't skimp out at all. Your shortest song is 3 minutes and 50 seconds, and then your longest one is like 4 minutes and 53. So almost 5 minutes, and none of them are bad. I don't think you wrote anything here that's skipped. So I think you personally, but I'm also a little biased. I'm your friend, but I don't think you wrote anything here that's a skip.
Well, that really does mean a lot from you, Weston. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I think that 350 is probably fine by Monday, because that's the only song I think on that list that doesn't have a bridge, because it didn't need it. It just didn't need it. Some songs, that's one thing with songwriting lessons that I've learned. It's not all songs need this and need that. Sometimes you got to know when to pull back on your own work, and that can be hard. And that's a whole nother conversation. But, you know, one thing I do when I write is I want to get as much information out as I can, but my other goal really, though, is to make sure that it's understandable, it relates to the human condition. You know, that's kind of my main goal, is just to speak to what we all have in common, right? That's why it's called Common Ground, hint, hint. And I feel like Fine by Monday was one of those songs where I got what I needed. I said what I needed to say without needing to add a third part to the song. So that's why it's just a verse, chorus, solo, mandolin solo by Chandler Smithers, the Flamingo King. Check him out. And then back to a chorus and end, right? Like, it didn't need anything else. Sometimes limiting yourself, you know, and knowing when to pull back is important, I think, when you're writing songs.
I think you're right. Knowing your own scope and not like, I'm trying to think of what it's called in. There's a phrase in game development that I want to use right here, and I can't think of what it is. But it's just, I can't think of what it is. But it's power scaling, right? You can start adding so many things to something to the point where it's too muddy and it's not even interesting anymore. Knowing when to like keep your scope manageable, and that way every part in it is meaningful. It's not just noise, a cacophony.
Right. Right, exactly. Great word, by the way. So this is the part where of course, I'm going to bring up the Beatles. So there's a great example. I mean, you asked about influences. They're one of my biggest influences.
I was about to transition that I wanted to talk about your influences.
Well, this was actually a great segue, because we talk about knowing when to pull back. They're a great example, and one reason why this story is a reason why they're one of my biggest influences. So as you know, they really did a lot with pop and rock music back in the day. They were really kind of the forefront of pop and rock music as a genre, you know, and at that time in the mid '60s, and kind of pushing the bar, trying new things, you know, really making music much more of instead of just, hey, let's go up to the soda hop and dance music, into let's just sit down and listen to this music kind of music, right? Like, it was a complete shift. Them alongside other British invasion groups and other American groups too. But one thing that the Beatles were always really great at was never repeating themselves, never doing the same thing twice as a band, and also as technology developed. So musical, not to get too nerdy, but musical technology was rapidly developing throughout the late '60s, like very quickly. When the Beatles started, or at least when they first were famous, PA systems for stadiums didn't exist. It wasn't real, right? And they were already playing stadium shows. They were the first band to do that. And then just 4 years later, that equipment was made. There was a bunch of multi-track recording that didn't exist in the early days, or at least you were recording on 2 tracks. Imagine that. Full bands recording on 2 tracks. And it just developed so quickly. And along with that also came a lot of instrumentation. So, the synthesizer, the Moog synthesizer, I believe was put out in 66 or 67. I could be wrong. Forgive me, could be a little bit earlier, but it was in the 60s, right? So the synthesizer was obviously crazy new for that time period. And when you think of 60s music, you don't think of, synthesizers, right? You probably think 80s or something.
Yeah, I was going to say that's more 80s, yeah.
But here's the thing, and here's why you don't think of the 60s, because there were a bunch of bands, other contemporaries to the Beatles, that went, okay, this new technology's out, let's make full albums with nothing but the synthesizers, right? Because they were embracing the new technology, right? In the moment, that's not a horrible idea, you'd think, but then if you listen back to these records, I got to find you some of these songs, it's just, talk about a cacophony of sounds. It's it's so muddy, and there's so many synthesizers, and it's dated way more.
I do imagine a bunch of just children with a new toy just playing the crap out of it till it's broken, right? That's what it was.
Right, that's exactly what it was. And one thing I loved about the Beatles is their attention to quality and quality control, is that they incorporated the synthesizer in their music maybe just a handful of times, and it was just a little solo in the background, or it was just faintly, or just faintly playing as a counter melody to the main melody. The song "Here Comes the Sun," right? Here comes the sun. There's actually a synthesizer in that, but you probably would have never have known that if I didn't tell you. Because
I don't think I've noticed. No,
they just so tastefully used it. Anyway, and I think that's why their music stands the test of time more than those other groups, just because they were tasteful. They still used it, but they were tasteful. So anyway, wanted to share that because I think that's important in music. My influences started with the Beatles. My dad was a huge fan.
For those of you that do not know, Alex is going to probably understate just how much of a big Beatles head he is. He knows everything there is to know about the Beatles. He had Beatles everything, Beatles memorabilia, Beatles posters, Beatles trivia, Beatles everything.
It's true. It's one of those things where when you meet another Beatles fan, it's an instant friendship for life, and I mean it. There's a magic to when you really discover them and fall in love with them. Our mutual friend Logan's a big Beatles fan, and him and I used to bond over them a lot. And anyway, I won't go into it because there could be a whole other episode on Beatles. If you put me head to head with someone on Beatles trivia, I could win.
If we sit down and just have an Elvis podcast, I mean, it'll just be you talking for hours. You could do that, I'm sure. But
absolutely. But anyway, so the Beatles are obviously the biggest influence on me. I think their story themselves has been told a million times, and I think everyone knows what impact they had on music, so I don't need to get into that. But it expanded from there, so I really wasn't listening to a lot of modern music at the time. It was mainly just other classic rock. It was really what my dad listened to, right? Makes sense. My dad was in his teens in the early 70s. So, let me make sure I'm doing that math right. Yeah, teens and early 20s in the early 70s. So he was, once the Beatles thing was over, he was listening to, and I, in turn, listened to bands like Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Pink Floyd, right? A lot, very popular groups as well, obviously. And these are all just because my parents were divorced, so my dad and he lived an hour away from me. So I'd hop in the car, he'd pick me up, take me back to his place, and we'd listen to these CDs. He just had all these old CDs that he used to listen to, and that was my big influence at the beginning, was classic rock. Loved it. I learned a lot about songwriting from classic rock, because if there's one thing that classic rock does really well, it's the big, loud, powerful choruses. You know, like I always give Bon Jovi, he's always a big example. Like Bon Jovi is the king of just, the verses are good, but then as soon as you get into the chorus, you just want to yell it and sing it with them. Like every Bon Jovi song, it's memorable and catchy, and obviously that's one of your goals as a chorus, is to make it stick in your head. So, and then it did change though. As I got a little older, I started to. This is true. Part of it was pressure led on to myself. No one gave me the pressure, but I started to feel kind of isolated from friends because nobody else there was no other 10-year-olds. Listening to Van Morrison, like that just wasn't happening. So
that sounds about right.
Right. But once again, I'm still blessed to have grown up listening to what I did, because I'm glad I have that musical background now. And just as a musician, I appreciate that. But then it started to develop into the 80s, into the 90s, and then 2000s and modern era. And honestly, Weston, my influences have ranged so much, it's not even funny. But I guess some other big favorites, I would say, would be Coldplay. If you go more modern, I'm a big fan of Coldplay. When they came out, that was a big deal for me because I really liked their sound. Their sound was really different. When I heard Clocks for the first time, that song blew my mind the first time I heard it. The da 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 da.
That song was big, yeah.
That song was huge, and I remember it was kind of different for the time too, because this was during the era. This is early 2000s, so like pop punk was still on the radio a lot, like a lot of like pop rock and stuff, and R&B was starting to get, well, R&B already was big, but it was big then too. And then Coldplay comes out with this song, and the lead instrument's a piano, which you haven't heard a lead instrument being a piano since this isn't true, but it's since Billy Joel? Like it seems like it's been so long, then all of a sudden the lead is the piano again, and I thought that was really cool.
I remember feeling like, the piano was like kind of a weak opener, you were expecting something more like I don't know, it felt like something that had almost died, no one did that anymore. I don't know, I think that's why it stood out so much, piano,
right? Piano was always used as texture, if you're mixing music, it was very good for the background. And that's another thing I'll say too, shooting back, but I'm just kind of shooting off the hip here, but Elton John, huge fan of Elton John. That's probably more obvious these days since I've focused mainly on piano now with my music. And then Billy Joel's a big one. When it comes to piano as well, I don't know if you're familiar that much, Weston, but Ben Folds and Ben Folds 5.
I know I've heard that name.
So, big fan of Ben Folds. He, one thing that he did is he kind of took piano in the 90s and kind of made it, he fused piano with like the punk rock feel. Not punk rock, but like the atmosphere of punk rock. Like, he would get up there on stage with the piano, and he would bang this thing so hard he'd break keys. And when the song was done, he would kick the piano over and break it, right? Or at least try to. Like, he would do crap like that. Like,
I love it. Instead of smashing guitars, smashing pianos.
And he was like his goal. I don't know if this is true, but it seemed like his goal was to make piano cool again. And then it did for a couple years, then it went away. Then Coldplay came back, and that's kind of what I want to do now with my album. Currently, is my upcoming album, which will be out soon, is definitely piano heavy, piano centric.
That's right.
And I really, and you don't hear that much still. You really don't. And I really want to kind of bring that to the forefront. And I just want to see how people react and respond to it. And because I'm really excited about this record, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, not that I've heard anything of it yet myself, but that's right. As of the time this episode comes out, Alex will have his album either out or it's coming out. Not entirely sure. It's coming
out, yeah.
It'll be coming out. Don't know anything more about that. I think we should dedicate the entirety of our ad break to you talking about your album. So you make sure you you plug the crap out of this album on this ad break.
Yeah, I will.
That's coming up. Before we transition over to our next segment, if you had to give me like literally just 2 or 3 main influences of specifically Common Ground, like if someone's like, what's it like? Who's it like? What would you say? Go.
Oh, that's tough. Common Ground specifically. Yeah. Give me a quick second here. Let's see. What songs do I have on there? I got to remember. I would say...
You've got Fine by Monday, Collected, okay. Wasting, yep. Plastic Dreams, yep. Mr. Miller, and Ghost Town.
Okay. Based on that album specifically, I would say one of them would be Ben's Fold. Mr. Miller sounds a lot like a Ben's Fold song. I would also say that you do hear a lot of Beatles influence in there. And then also a little bit of, this is going to be maybe a little more obscure, but acoustic stuff like Joshua Radin would be another big, I'd say, influence on that particular album. A lot of acoustic stuff going on there, and he's a big influence on my acoustic music. So definitely check out Common Ground. It's out now. You can kind of get a feel for maybe what I'm about. My next album is going to be a bit of a departure a little bit, but if you like Mr. Miller, it's going to be kind of in line with that one. So, right. Does that answer your question, kind of?
It does. And you heard it here first. Before we get to the ad break, alexduquette.net. Check out his EP, Common Ground. Let's move on to our ad break so we can get on to the next segment of our show. Woohoo! Profoundish is brought to you in part by A Hasty Podcast, my own personal podcast talking about life, games, media, and sometimes featuring guests. Look for it on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Profoundish is brought to you in part by Camp Nostalgic Saturday Morning, a show that takes a deep dive into pop culture's biggest questions. I co-host alongside Dave Rediger, and it's a lot of fun. Watch the show and see all the other content offerings at campnostalgic.org.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our show, our Profoundish show. Today... Oh, God, I didn't give it a name. I'm so I did not give this segment a name. Welcome to, Music Club with Alex.
Nuggets. Oh.
I don't remember what you called it. So, I talked about, at the beginning of this episode, I'm less prepared than I realized. I thought I was prepared for this episode. We released a Magic episode that was, dedicated to me. And I wanted this music episode dedicated to you. On my Magic episode, you required of me to create a pizzeria staffed by various wizards and witches. Today, on your episode, I'm requiring you to staff a live music nightclub with several different musicians. Most of them are real, some of them fictitious.
Yep, I see that.
None of them are the actual entertainment of the club.
I noticed that too.
So, that's what we're doing. If you need further clarification on the rules, dear listener, check out our episode about magic, episode, I think, 5. The positions you need to fill for your nightclub, Alex, are club owner, host, DJ, bartender, cook, server, security, bouncer/door person, and restroom attendant.
Oh, boy.
Which,
oh boy,
you might imagine is a little bit of a degrading position, but all the same.
Sure.
You will have to figure out who should fill these positions. Let me name who we are staffed with, keeping in mind some of these have very famous feuds. So you will have to consider where they're working in the in the nightclub based on their pre-existing feuds. Our musicians...
I'm seeing them now. Yep. I didn't see them at first, but I see one of them at least.
We have Prince, Michael Jackson, Elvis, all 4 of the Beatles. Whatever you put them at, they all 4 have to do that thing.
Right.
Kanye West, Taylor Swift, Alvin and the Chipmunks, all 3 of them. The Blues Brothers, both of them. And the Soggy Bottom Boys, all 4 of them.
Yes, I love the Soggy Bottom Boys.
You'll notice that 3 of these are fictitious. Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Blues Brothers, and the Soggy Bottom Boys are fictitious characters. Alvin and the Chipmunks originally becoming famous because of a specific Christmas song, but they have had since movies, Alvin and the Chipmunks. The Blues Brothers from the movie The Blues Brothers, and the Soggy Bottom Boys from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which I just so happen to know you enjoyed that movie. The real ones, of course, are Prince and Michael Jackson have an existing feud. Elvis and the Beatles have an existing feud, and Kanye West and Taylor Swift have had an existing feud. With all of that in mind, you now have to staff a nightclub.
I never thought I'd be tasked with this, but I'm honored. I'm so glad you brought this back. This is actually one of my favorite things now.
I had to do it for you.
All right.
Especially after last episode, you flipped around the Would You Rather game on me. I had to flip around a game for you.
You know what's funny? Quick little thing, like, I don't know if we thought we were going to get as creative as we have with our games, but we found ones that we really like, and we're kind of sticking with them. I like it. Okay, so this is going to be fun. So we got club owner, host, DJ, bartender, cook, server, security, bouncer, door person, restroom attendant. So host, is the host, just to make sure, like, are they the ones that are just kind of letting people in?
Now, the person letting people in is actually the bouncer/door person.
Oh, the bouncer.
I kind of merged that together. They're going to like let people come and go, whatever. The host can kind of hang out at the front and greet people as they come in. They can go between VIP guests, make sure everyone's having a good time. They're the one that's kind of going around, and they're like the face of the nightclub. Make sure everyone's having a good time, everything's running smoothly. They kind of do a lot of things.
Right. So it sounds like we might start with the host then. Sounds like the host needs to have kind of a very vibrant personality, kind of keeping people entertained as, you know, and just kind of keeping people feel welcome. So I think what I'm going to do, now, am I able to move things around if I'd like?
Yeah, if you change your mind, we can move things around.
Okay.
You don't set it in stone until you say you've set it in stone.
Okay, that's fair. So I think for now, I'm going to put the Beatles as the host. Because that sounds like a job that there's a lot going on with 4 guys doing it, all with pretty fun-loving personalities too. I think that can be a really good gig for them.
Very
you got
decision. Yeah, because you got 4 of them now. Yeah.
So I think that'd be a really great job for that. The rest of these jobs look like they can really be done by kind of one person. So. Okay, but I do need to worry about these feuds because, yes, there was a little bit of a feud with Elvis. So let me see. Isn't that funny? Like, the 2 biggest super stars ever, like, have a feud with each other. Like, come on, just get along.
It all just started over politics. It wasn't even music.
I know. Wait, I know, you're right. It is so funny, too, because they worshipped him. They worshipped Elvis. But anyway, different story. So, let me see here. So let's look. Now we're going to start at the beginning here, or kind of at the bottom of the food chain. Restroom attendant, right?
Yes.
You know, I don't know how I don't want to say important of a job that is, but really, how important is that job? You know, like, what exactly are they doing? Are they just making sure that people are being escorted to the bathrooms?
They're watching you poop.
They're watching you poop? Are they cleaning the bathrooms too?
The attendant, holds towels and gets supplies and greets people as they come and go. And I don't think that they actually do any heavy cleaning. That would be janitorial staff, I think, that we don't have here. But they at least kind of make sure everything's looking prim, proper. I guess pretty put together. I guess some light cleaning.
Well, I think for now, as the restroom attendant, I think I'm going to put Kanye there.
Okay.
I know it sounds crazy. But oh shoot, I just saw DJ. Hey, move Kanye up to DJ.
Okay.
Move him up there. He's out in... You know what? I lied. Put him back. I promise I won't keep going back and forth. Okay, sorry. I'm brainstorming here.
Is there any way Kanye West can DJ from the restroom?
Can we swing that? Okay. I think Kanye should do that because Kanye is such an interesting personality. He can make even a job like that interesting. You know he can. He's Kanye, for God's sake.
He's got a pretty big ego. He's gonna... you think he's gonna take that standing up?
I mean, he's got no choice. It's his job. He might have to take it sitting down. I mean, he's in the bathroom, for God's sake.
Sitting down on the toilet.
So we have the bouncer. I think the bouncer would probably be best suited with the Blues Brothers. I feel like they've got kind of that intimidating kind of style and feel. You know, they're not smiling, right? They're there to get stuff done, and I think they're going to be really good for that.
On. They've got that sort of definitely heavy security look going on.
Yeah, I think they're going to be really good with that. I might bounce around a little bit here.
They're kind of goofy. They might let in some ne'er-do-wells just because they're kind of goofy people.
You know, you're right, but you know what? I don't know. I guess they are, but they're pretty straight too. We'll see. I might move things around. Let me go.
A pack of cigarettes and a full tank of gas. Let's go.
Well, hey, it keeps it interesting in the club then, right? I mean, come on. You know, give me half a pack of cigarettes, you're in. So let me go to... I'm going to go to bartender for a second.
Yeah.
So I feel like a really set of entertaining bartenders would be Alvin and the Chipmunks. I think that that would be such a fun, entertaining mini show, just sitting up at the bar watching these little chipmunks dance around and sing and give you your drinks.
Actually, that's probably a really good point. The little dudes with their squeaky little voices, they're like, "Yeah, what that? What's a drink? One slippery nipple coming up."
Right.
Or whatever.
It's just like, exactly, Bloody Mary. I could just see them just really just dancing around, ready for the show. They're just really getting along with people. I think that'd be a great choice. I mean, I'd like to see that. A bunch of dancing little chipmunks while I'm drinking at the bar. Why not?
All three of them running back. It would almost turn into a whole extra show. People are there for the live music or whatever, but they're also their own entire show at the bar. People are sitting at the counter.
Oh, exactly. There's rivalry. It's like a rivalry thing going on. It's like, hey guys, I'm up here. The singer on stage is like, guys. They're all staring at the bar.
But look at the chipmunks.
Look at them. Have you seen them?
They're so cute.
So, one reason why I did put Kanye as a restroom attendant is because, first of all, he kind of needs to be put in his place a little bit. Okay, that's one thing.
Shots fired.
And number two, once again, hey, not too much shade because I still think he's talented, but number two is, obviously, we need to keep him away from T-Swift because I think out of all these rivalries, that's probably the biggest one, at least in my opinion. Or at least the most maybe notable, at least today.
Certainly the most recent.
Definitely the most recent.
Even though it was a while ago now, yeah.
Taylor Swift. She's so talented. She's such a great songwriter. security, cook. Who would be a good cook? I'm just kind of looking around here. We still have open club owner, DJ, cook, server, and security.
Keeping in mind, the Blues Brothers are your bouncers and door people. The security are the people that are on the inside, making sure people behave.
Right. Here's what I think I'm going to do. This might sound surprising, but I think it's going to be a good fit, and I'll explain why. Take your pal Elvis. I want you to make him a cook.
Okay.
Now, Elvis was born and raised in the South. Some home-cooked meals. I'm right here. Well, not right here, but near Memphis. And I think he would just really have that southern style of cooking that people love. Southern comfort food. I think that's always a favorite. He comes from that background. I think I'll do that.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, only because I wanted to bring up that like his favorite like dish was I think it was like a toasted peanut butter and banana sandwich.
I don't even think it was toasted. I think it was
might not
just
have
a
been
peanut butter
toasted.
banana sandwich.
It's been a while since I looked this up, but he would, because he had his private jet, would literally, there was one place specifically in the country he would order it from, and he would fly his jet there just for his peanut butter and banana sandwich. He was known to do that. This guy was crazy. I don't know if he's a good cook or not, but...
Well, we're going to find out. I just feel like, from my experience living in the South for a few years, I haven't come across someone who's a bad cook yet. I will say that. So... next time you do come down here, we got to check out that jet. Well, no excuses this time because it is really cool. You have to see it. Okay, so next, let's see here. We got Elvis. He's away from the Beatles, so that's good. They're out front. He's in the back cooking, giving everybody some yummy peanut buttery foods.
You managed to separate them, yeah.
All right. We still have Prince and Michael Jackson, Taylor Swift, and the Soggy Bottom Boys.
The Soggy Bottom Boys.
All right. DJ. Let's talk about the DJ for a second. I'm going to kind of bounce around. So they're up there. They're kind of playing the music while other acts are probably getting ready, and when people are dancing and whatever.
There's always slow nights where you don't have live music, or times where you're waiting for the live music to show up, or in between. DJ's kind of also just in charge of the entertainment when there is no live music playing.
And that is why I think there's no better person to go to DJ than Michael Jackson himself. I think Michael Jackson would do a great job. He is extremely talented, a great performer. He'll keep people up and moving. He'll keep people in the club once they're in there, which is what they want, because then what do? They go to the bar and get more drinks. Everybody makes money. Everybody wins.
I'm imagining he's behind like the DJ booth, like jockeying some discs, but also like throwing in a couple of little like moon walks and just like little dance moves. I like it. I love it. I think
this is becoming quite clear to me very quickly. So
yeah, you haven't had a lot of struggle here, or at least you haven't voiced it. Like you're not really torn. You're just kind of like, I need this person for the host, this person for the restroom. You know what? You're just kind of slowly piecing it together one after the other.
Here's why, because this is my dream club. Imagine this. Going in here and all these people are at this club? Oh my God. If Kanye could hold a towel for me while I take a dump. Oh man. Well, I mean, this is the world I want to be
that
in.
Moment. Not sitting at the bar while Alvin's serving you up a drink and Elvis is serving you a sandwich. You're like, specifically, I want to be in the bathroom taking a massive dump while Kanye West holds my towel.
I mean, come on now.
That one.
Yes. Speaking of Kanye, let's go back to Taylor for a second. So, Taylor Swift, I hate to not utilize her musical talents, but she's also very sweet and very kind, and she seems very genuine. I think she'd be a great server.
Okay.
I want to make her server because I just think and she's cute. I think she's got the whole thing going for her. She's the cute server. I think she'd get tipped well. She'd keep people coming back.
She's got the whole package. I did notice, and one, you've shoved Kanye in the bathroom, so basically she could hold any position, and, there's a separation there. I did notice after I made this, we were already preparing for the podcast, and I was looking over everybody. I'm like, I should have had a little bit more female representation in here, but it was too late. I already had my list.
Right. Well, that's all right. Maybe there's always future ones. There's a lot of artists and there's a lot of clubs.
Yeah, that's true.
But also, if you're going to have a female representation, I mean, there's Taylor Swift really is a great choice. So, all right. So I have one choice that's completely like this is going to be so good. Security.
Yes. What you have left is club owner and security, and you have Prince and you have the Soggy Bottom Boys left. That's what we've got left so far.
Oh my God. I think security should be the Soggy Bottom Boys.
That's like the ultimate irony.
I know. It really is.
But from chain gang to security.
I know. Seriously, I didn't even think of it that way. I was just thinking more of they're rough, rootin' and tootin', you know, and they got that roughness, they got that background, you know, hell, they were a chain gang, right? Like, you know for a fact that they can knock heads if they need to while everyone's inside, making sure everyone's keeping cool. So yeah, if the Blues Brothers, they let a few people in, you know, just gonna, hey, go on in, you know. I think the Soggy Bottom Boys can stop them in their tracks just fine. I mean, there's 4 of them. So
That's true.
And I just think that's funny to me. Just all these hokey looking dudes just like walking around the bar. And then you got these 4 mop-headed British men in suits. Like, well, what the hell kind of club is this?
What is going on in here? It would be an eclectic mix. You are not wrong.
And I think, honestly, I'd say, I guess, our last one, the club owner, is going to be Prince. I don't have a strong reason why, I'm going to be honest. I actually love Prince. I hate that I did this to him, that I didn't have much reason. But, you know, I don't know much about Prince's business practices, like before he died. I don't know. But I do love Prince. And I feel like he does have, obviously, a huge musical background, and he's got a lot of experience. So I feel like if he at least uses his musical expertise alongside maybe some other business partners, I think he could be a great club owner. So, plus he can help pick acts that come in and play and stuff, and he's probably had a lot of good connections for that. So I guess my ideas are starting to come now. But yeah, I think that's it. So basically, I just hired, or would you like to explain it, or would you like me to?
So far, what you've picked, if you're setting it in stone, our club owner of this nightclub is Prince, hosted by the Beatles, DJ'd by Michael Jackson, bartended by Alvin and the Chipmunks, cooked by Elvis Presley, served by Taylor Swift, secured by the Soggy Bottom Boys, bounced by the Blues Brothers, and restroom attended by Kanye West.
You got to take your poops. He'll hold your towel for you. You know what, Weston, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there's any better way to do this. I can just feel myself walking in there, right? I'm talking to the Blues Brothers, and hey, let me in. Here's a pack of cigarettes or whatever it is, right? And then, yeah, you can go. And then I go in there and I see the Soggy Bottom Boys, and they're all just, I'll only be 82. You little horn a toad. And they're making all their weird southern lines, and they're walking around doing this and that, keeping people in order. And then, man, I got to go to the bathroom, right? So I run over and I see Kanye. He's rehearsing his lyrics and practicing his speeches for Kanye 2024.
He's got nothing else to do while he's in there.
Right. You might as well listen to that while you're going number 2. Then imagine being served by Taylor Swift. Honestly, that does sound really nice. You know, she's easy on the eyes, and maybe if you tip her well enough, she'll sing you a little tune, you know. And then you got that Southern cooking from Elvis himself. But hey, that's not enough. I need a drink. Here. I got enough food in my belly. I want a drink. You go over, you see the little Alvin and the Chipmunks. They're dancing and singing for you, and I'm trying to think of like a single song that they do, but I can't think of a single one. I guess I could think of the Christmas one.
All I Want for Christmas, or whatever the heck it is.
Hula hoop. I remember that part.
Yeah. I want a hula hoop.
But just imagine them, like, I feel like they would actually be the perfect one to get to sing, right? You sit down at the bar, and then it's like, hey, give us a tune, any tune. We take requests. You know, they're kind of just singing as you drink.
Can really you imagine getting more and more and more drunk listening to their voice? Just getting like what that would do in your drunk mind, like as it warps. Like, wait a minute, does everybody sound like a chipmunk?
Oh, I just imagine this some guy going, "Oh my God, say it again!" And the chipmunk's like, "Oh my God, hula hoop!" Say it again. He lays down another 20.
I think you're right.
But yeah, then you got people dancing at the club to Michael Jackson's music. Think everyone's getting down to Thriller. Come on.
Yeah,
then
every
don't forget,
October
though,
is definitely just Thriller all the way through.
Oh, for sure. And then don't forget, you got the Fab Four. You got the Fab Four walking around, kind of entertaining everybody in their own way, making sure everyone's comfortable, they're seated, everyone's being tended to. You can split them off into 4 ways, which is great, so they can all kind of cover different parts of the room, which is awesome. And then, of course, all owned and ran by Prince himself. He's got these connections, getting people in there playing shows, and I don't know. I'm pretty set. I think I'm locking this in.
Well, that's your club. There's only one thing left to do. You have to name this nightclub now.
Oh, God, I forgot. I literally forgot about this.
Now you have to name it. Name this club. What is this club called?
I forgot because I remember I put you on the spot with that one. Oh, with mine.
Now you're on the spot. Bonus points if you alliterate.
So, I have to. So the thing is that clubs usually have like these really like kind of cryptic names, a lot of the time. So I gotta think, but I want it to be alliteration. But like it's always cryptic, like it's something like, or just weird names like the Blue Donkey. It's always weird stuff like that.
Yeah, it'll be like 2 random things, or it'll be like one word that's kind of like you said, it's cryptic. It's like effervescence. That sounds like a good club name or something like that, right?
We've got that does, yeah. I think I'm going to go more kind of the first route, which is kind of like the 2 kind of strange words put together, mainly because we have eclectic, like you said earlier, personalities in this group, and I feel like that would lend itself more to kind of a weird name, kind of like like my old band name Jawbone Stew or something, just a strange but hooky name. So I'm going to do alliteration.
Yeah.
And luckily I have some freedom here because it can just be kind of anything. But
right, but is it too much freedom?
I know. Well, I will say this: I'm feeling B. I'm feeling the letter B. Butter.
Butter.
Ooh, butter. That might be one word.
Ooh, butter. What you say?
What are some good B words?
Bodacious, bubbly.
Bodacious. Bodacious is pretty good, actually. It could be the bodacious something.
Banker.
Beaker.
Busy. Beaker. Better.
The bodacious.
Bird.
Go through all your B words.
I'm just running through. I should just go
bountiful.
I should just look up Webster's dictionary and just go through all the B's.
I like the bodacious.
Butt.
Ooh, I think I got it. Butt.
What you got?
Ooh, the bodacious butt isn't bad.
The bodacious butt.
It needs to be an animal. The second word needs to be an animal. So I'm thinking badger maybe?
The bodacious badger.
The bodacious badger. That sounds like a club.
Or even or beaver.
The bodacious beaver. Can we get away with that today?
I don't see why not. I mean,
you know what? You kind of helped, but I'm taking it. I think I want it to be the bodacious beaver. Imagine that, babe. Put on your dancing shoes tonight. We're going out to the bodacious beaver.
It doesn't have none of that indicates what. So if you were just looking up like if you're a tourist in the city, I don't know where this nightclub is, but if you're a tourist, you're like things to do while in, I don't know, LA or wherever this would be, right? Things to do and it's like number 1, this thing, number 2, this thing, number 3, the bodacious beaver. People would have no idea what that is. It's like, is that a taxidermy place? What?
Well, that's what I love about it. I mean, like, I'm telling you, I can't think of the name of one that's here now, but there's this one really weird club that Steph was telling me about. It had such a strange name, and it's so intriguing. Like, you just have to go. And that's what I like about it. Because if you go, it might seem like a hole in the wall or something random, but you go in there, you got Kanye sitting in your bathroom. I mean, come on! Bodacious Beaver. I'm locking it in.
Come on. All right, welcome to the Bodacious Beaver, club owned by the Prince himself. hosted by the Beatles, DJ'd by Michael Jackson, bartended by Alvin and the Chipmunks, cooked by Elvis Presley, served by Taylor Swift, secured by the Soggy Bottom Boys, bounced by the Blues Brothers, and restroom attended by Kanye West. You've done it. It's right next. I feel like it's right next door to the Pizzeria de Prestigitation, our pizza place, our nightclub. We're slowly building a commercial district of clubs and pizzerias so far. What there will be in the future, who knows? We're just like building this up.
I love that we're slowly building. I actually love that idea. The only thing we need to do, and I don't mind saying this on the air, we do need to come up with a name for this segment.
I know. Did you have a name for it when you did the pizza one?
I don't think so. I think I just said you are now tasked with hiring these people for. Like, I don't think I had a name either.
Because I didn't either. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't have a name. Yeah, we don't have a name for this segment. Wow, we'll have to do that posthumously.
We'll come up with that. Definitely. Well, I mean, Bodacious Beaver. Let's head on out and then get some pizza afterwards.
Let's do it. I could definitely go for a pizza right now. Part of me wants to run over to somewhere and grab a pizza. But that has been our show. That has been Profoundish. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Alex, for being here.
Yes, listen, thank you for hosting. You know what, Weston? Thank you for being here and asking me about me today.
No, see, you thanked me a lot on the wizard one. No, thank you.
You're welcome
for just being you. God dang it!
Remember that old joke that we had about like these two guys? I think you and I had this joke. These two guys who kept like being polite to one another. Like one guy holds the door, but then the other guy feels like he owes him a favor now, a polite favor, and it's like almost becomes like a
it's a competition to be like the most polite. Like, no, you have a good day. No, you have a good day.
I love it.
You've been listening to Profoundish. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter at ProfoundishPod. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor as Profoundish. Follow us and rate us on all of those things. Yep. Give us all of the subscriptions, the likes, the 5 stars. It truly does help the algorithm.
Yes, and also, really quick too, make sure a lot of times if you're a Spotify listener, which I know you're out there, I see you, make sure you feel free to partake. You may not notice, but we actually have like little multiple choice questions or polls you can take. So feel free to kind of join in and have some fun. It's a little more interactive.
Yeah, scroll down on the episode page and we have polls. You can answer them. What we will do with the data we collect, I don't know, but answer them anyway.
That.
Yeah, just that's all top secret. Shh. As far as that goes, you can find Alex. Alex, where can we find you? Talk about your stuff.
AlexDuquette.net's the hub for everything. If you want the medleys, go to Alex Duquette on YouTube and check just my name. Check me out.
And you can find me, my hub, where you can find my stuff, westonhasty.com. That's my hub for all my things. Definitely check out my gaming channel if you're into gaming at Magic Man Mo. But other than that, I think we're done here. Hit us up at our websites and stuff.
Yeah, do it. Hit us up, man.
Go listen to Common Ground. That's your homework. Go listen to Common Ground. All right, we're out of here.
Yes,
Thank you all
please.
so much for listening. Till next time. Bye.